Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU Audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Continuing Education, SOCE, Master's Degree Programs, MA, in Rural Development, MRD 10 to Rural Development Program, Block 1 Poverty Alleviation Programs, a retrospect, Unit 3 Integrated Rural Development Program, IRDP, 3.0 Objectives. After studying this unit, you should be able to. Times describe the government policies and programs for tackling rural poverty and the changes made. From time to time, Times explain the Integrated Rural Development Program, IRDP, and its operational strategy in detail. Times describe the processes involved in the identification of the families below the poverty line, BPL families, and the specific arrangements for the weaker sections, SCs, STs, women, under the program. Times analyze the impact of the program, and Times outline the current status of the program. 3.1 Introduction. We have read about the first two types of programs in the two units preceding this one. In this unit, we focus on IRDP, a national program for poverty alleviation, directed at specific target groups of beneficiaries. But first, let us have a brief preview of the programs that preceded IRDP. In the initial stages of plan development, particularly during the 1950s and the 1960s, it was thought that with accelerated economic growth both in the agricultural and the industrial sectors, the benefits of the growth will reach to all the sections and all the regions of the country through the spread or trickle-down effect. The Community Development Program also focused on comprehensive development of the villages, hoping that through the development of the rural sector activities and rural infrastructure, all the sections of the rural population would benefit and that would take care of the poverty alleviation also. During 1960s, agricultural development became the focus as the country was facing food shortage, and as a result of intensive agriculture development programs, particularly in areas with favorable agro-climatic conditions and high potential for agriculture. India achieved green revolution and became self-sufficient in food production. While the Green Revolution was the most welcome situation, as dependence on USA and other countries for food got eliminated, it resulted in two types of problem: regional imbalances and income disparities. The regions endowed with high agricultural potential grew faster and the remaining areas remained backward. Similarly, the farmers with sizable land, irrigation facilities and access to easy credit prospered, while others, particularly the small and the marginal farmers and agriculture laborers, could not reap the benefits of the Green Revolution. Also, income disparities became visible and alarming. Mechanization of agriculture displaced human labor, particularly the unskilled daily wage earners, though it generated employment for the skilled labor. Overall, however, the total employment has declined in relation to rising labor force due to high growth in population. Thus, the Green Revolution did little for generating employment opportunities for the fast expanding labor force. It was during this period that the concept of growth with social justice or growth with redistribution was being discussed in the developing countries, as most of them were facing the problem of mass poverty. It was also felt that apart from the relative inequality in the rural population, there was also an absolute level of poverty. This crystallized into the concept of poverty line, which became a useful tool to measure levels of poverty and also design strategies to alleviate rural poverty. Keeping the foregoing details in view, the draft fourth five-year plan suggested remedial measures to deal with both the regional imbalances and the income disparities, accordingly, to streams of special rural development programs, one for minimizing the regional imbalances and the other to reduce income disparities between the various sections of the rural people, were started during the fourth plan. During the fourth and the fifth plans, three kinds of measures characterized the approaches to the alleviation of poverty. times a national program of minimum needs, times programs designed to reduce regional disparities and promote development of backward areas, and times anti-poverty programs directed at specific target groups, following the recommendations in the All India Credit Review Committee Report, 1969, the fourth five-year plan aimed, inter alia, at enabling small and marginal farmers and agricultural labor to derive benefits from the development process. A program specifically focused on them, called the Small Farmers Development Program, was launched in 1973. It was expected that generally the size of the holdings of small farmers would be between 1 to 2 hectares in the case of land that could be irrigated, and up to 3 hectares in the case of dry areas. Farmers with less than 1 hectare of land holding were termed marginal farmers. Those who received more than 50% of their income from agricultural labor were termed agricultural laborers. It was assumed that with the provision of credit, irrigation, price support and marketing, farming operations could be made viable. Accordingly, special agencies called Small Farmers Development Agencies, SFDAs, registered under the Societies Registration Act, 1860, was set up for the implementation of the program to assist small and marginal farmers, agricultural laborers and rural artisans. Each agency had a governing body, mainly consisting of representatives of institutional agencies and district administration, with the collector or deputy commissioner as the chairman. The main functions of SFDAs were to times identify the target group beneficiaries, i.e., eligible small farmers, times study and identify their problems, times formulate suitable schemes for their benefit, times seek institutional support, times induce the institutional credit source to provide medium and long-term credit, times provide subsidy to the beneficiaries as follows: A. Small farmers at 25% of the project cost, B. Others at 33.33% of the project cost, and C. For SCs STs at 50% of the project cost, and times arrange for extension services and supplies. The objective of these schemes was to help the rural poor in raising their income levels. To achieve this, it was decided to help them to adopt improved agricultural technology, provide greater access to irrigation and other production increasing measures, and diversify their farm economy through subsidiary activities like animal husbandry, dairy farming, horticulture, sericulture, etc. They also sought to enroll the beneficiaries as members of credit cooperatives so that they could obtain credit facilities. 46 pilot SFDA projects were started during the fourth plan. After 2 years of the implementation of SFDA program, it was noticed that mostly it was the small farmer who was taking advantage of this program, while the marginal farmers, agriculture laborers and artisans were not adequately covered. Keeping this in view and to meet the specific needs of these groups, the scheme of Marginal Farmers and Agricultural Laborers Development Agencies, MFAL, was introduced in 1975. The objectives and the process of implementation of MFAL were the same as those of SFDA. MFAL, however, was merged with SFDA in the year 1976-77. Table 3.1 shows the performance of SFDAs since their inception and over the period of the fourth and the fifth five-year plans. Table 3.1, progress of SFDA projects since their inception and during the fourth and the fifth plans. Look at the screen. The Program Evaluation Organization, PEO, of the Planning Commission undertook a study of 21 SFDAs and 13 MFALs in 17 states. It was published in 1978. The study covered 296 villages, 2.557 beneficiaries and 395 non-beneficiaries. The main findings of the study were: some of the shortcomings regarding the working of these agencies were reported to be as follows: times proper care was not exercised in the selection of some of the project areas, times the identification of beneficiaries was not satisfactory. Very little attention was given to agricultural laborers and artisans. More than 9% of the beneficiaries were ineligible, times imprecise definitions caused ambiguity. Guidelines were also not very clear. Times coordination and review committees were inactive, which affected supervision, coordination, and direction. Times cooperative infrastructure continued to be very weak in most of the project areas. A cumbersome procedure was adopted for grant of loans. Times in most of the projects, there were cases of poor utilization of inputs including loans. Times awareness and knowledge about the program among the target groups was low. Times though the project agencies did a commendable job in achieving the targets, qualitatively most of these were not satisfactory. Times programs related to horticulture, minor irrigation, poultry and dairying did not make much headway in the project areas. 3.2 Integrated Rural Development Program. While SFDA and MFAL were wholly beneficiary-oriented programs, the programs like the Drought-Prone Area Program, DPAP, the Command Area Development Agency, CADA, and the Hill Area Development Agency, HADA, also had components, however small, for direct assistance to beneficiaries, and these overlapped with those of SFDA and MFAL. Besides, the criterion used for the selection of beneficiaries was exclusively the size of land, while other sources of the family income were ignored, though as per guidelines these were also to be taken into consideration. In addition to these inadequacies, these programs were mainly focused on land-based activities, and the opportunities for employment in other sectors were not considered. In order to overcome these deficiencies, it was decided to merge all beneficiary-oriented elements of other programs with SFDA and recast a new program and integrate that with various other sectors which have considerable potential for self-employment. Consequently, the Integrated Rural Development Program (IRDP) was launched in 1978, covering 2,300 blocks which were already under SFDA, DPAP, CADA and HADA. The draft 6th Plan, 1978-83, observed that integration covers four principal dimensions: integration of sectoral programs, spatial integration, integration of social and economic processes, and above all the policies with a view to achieving a better fit between growth, reduction in poverty, and employment generation. More specifically, it involves a sharp focus on target groups comprising small and marginal farmers, agricultural laborers, and rural artisans, and an extremely location-specific planning in the rural areas. 3.3 Main features of IRDP. The focus of IRDP was also mainly on the same target group as under SFDA, i.e., small and marginal farmers, agricultural laborers, and rural artisans. There was, however, considerable deviation difference in its operational strategy. The main features of the program were: times for the first time the concept of poverty line income was applied for the identification of the beneficiaries, and therefore land was no more the criteria for the identification and selection of beneficiaries. Times the poverty line income, for definition see Unit 1, was fixed at 3,500 rupees per year for an average family of 5 persons. The families with annual incomes below 3,500 rupees were identified as below poverty line (BPL) families and were eligible for benefits under IRDP. Times the identification of beneficiaries was done through the baseline survey of family income. Times the subsidy rates were the same as used for the SFDA beneficiaries, i.e. 25% for small farmers, 33.33% for others, and 50% for SC cent beneficiaries. In addition, the beneficiaries of any category in a group scheme were also eligible for 50% subsidy. Times at least 30% of the total beneficiaries were supposed to be the SCs and STs. This was later increased to 50%. times women beneficiaries from all categories were supposed to be 33.33%, which was later increased to 40%, times the self-employment projects would cover all the following areas, times programs of agricultural development including efficient utilization of land and water resources with the help of technology, times programs of animal husbandry as a subsidiary occupation directed mainly to the small peasant and agricultural labor households, times programs of marine fishery including harvesting of natural resources through trawlers, mechanized boats and country boats, times programs of inland water and brackish water fisheries to maximize output of fish per unit of water, times programs of social forestry, times programs of farm forestry through small peasant households, times village and cottage industries including handlooms, sericulture and beerearing, as important occupations for the artisan classes of the rural population, times service sector of the rural economy as self-employment for poorer families, and times programs for skill formation and mobility of labor to meet the needs of organized labor for development works. For the implementation of IRDP, it was made essential to formulate comprehensive block plans. These in turn were proposed to be linked to the district and state plans. In all of the above, people were sought to be actively involved. Also, the help of voluntary agencies was sought. 3.4 Administrative and organizational aspects of IRDP. 3.4.1 Administrative setup. For the implementation of IRDP, a District Rural Development Agency (DRDA) was established in each district. In fact, the district agencies which had been established earlier for implementing various programs like SFDA, DPAP, DDP, CADA, HADA, etc., were converted into DRDAs. The project director officer assisted by 5 to 7 assistant project officers specializing in various disciplines and other support staff were posted to manage DRDAs. Also, a governing body to oversee the functioning of the DRDA in each district was constituted under the district collector. DY Commissioner as its chairman and sectoral heads, elected representatives, MPs, MLAs and ZP chairpersons, representatives of banking institutions and NGOs are its members. DRDAs are societies registered under the Societies Registration Act 1860. At the national level, the Ministry of Rural Development is responsible for the execution of the program and also for making policies, providing guidance and monitoring of the program. At the state level, the State Level Coordination Committee (SLCC) monitors the program. At the district level, DRDAs implement the program through blocks and other sectoral departments. At the block level, the chief coordinator is the Block Development Officer, BDO. He has to ensure the timely preparation of plans. He/she is assisted by extension officers and the village level workers, VLW, at the village level. Apart from official agencies, voluntary agencies and prominent voluntary action groups concerned with socio-economic activities pertaining to rural development may also be associated with the programs. The funds for voluntary agencies are channeled through the Council for People's Action and Rural Technology, CAPAT. 3.4.2 Procedure for implementation. The step-by-step procedure for the implementation of IRDP is discussed as follows. I. Identification of beneficiaries. The beneficiaries are identified through base-line income surveys of the households, mainly covering the target groups and those whose annual family incomes from all sources put together remains below the poverty line income. This process resulted in lists of BPL, below poverty line, families. Conducting baseline income surveys is the responsibility of DRDAs. 2. The poverty line income. It is the minimum value of the annual expenditure of an average family of 5 persons to meet the cost of daily food that provides 2400 kilocalories to every member of the family. The poverty line income fixed by the Planning Commission during the 6th plan was 3,500 rupees. For the 7th plan it was fixed at 6,400 rupees. The 8th plan fixed it at 11,000 rupees, and for the 9th plan, the poverty line income was calculated state-wise according to the cost of living in the respective states and varied from 16,000 rupees to Rs. 18,000. 3. After the list of BPL families is finalized for each village, a priority list of the families is also prepared. Certain categories, like assignees of ceiling surplus, land, bonded labor who have been released and handicapped persons who are capable of undertaking economic activities, are given priority in receiving assistance. Once the list has been prepared, it is placed for discussion and approval in a meeting of the Gram Sabha called by the BDO. 4. Initially, the BDO used to select the beneficiaries out of the approved and priority list, and after the approval of DRDA, the same was used for assisting the beneficiaries. Later, a noble method was evolved to select beneficiaries, and on-the-spot decisions were taken regarding the type of project and loan-cum subsidy to be provided to them. This method was called the implementation. The meeting in which these decisions were taken was also attended by the block and bank officers and occasionally by the members of voluntary action groups. The approved list is displayed in the village panchayat and the block office. In the selection of beneficiaries, cluster and group activities are preferred as providing infrastructural assistance is easier. 6. Various projects are chosen, but factors like the preference of the family, its skills, aptitude and ability, availability of forward and backward linkages are kept in view. Moreover, the size of the project is determined in relation to the gap between the poverty line and the family's income. Wherever possible, projects with lower cost estimates are preferred. 7. Any activity having a favorable incremental capital output ratio (ICA) may be taken up in the primary, secondary or tertiary sectors. Efforts are made to diversity into industries, services and business activities to reduce the burden on farm sector projects. 8. Among the selected beneficiaries, SCs STs should be 50%, women 40%, and disabled persons 3%. 9. Earlier, the assets were generally procured by the DRDA or any other authorized agency, preferably a government agency. Now, the beneficiaries can procure them for and by themselves and provide the proof of procuring them to the DRDA and the banks. Kiss Smiley. The assets related to animal husbandry, like animals and birds, provided under the scheme should be insured, and the premium of the insurance should be included in the cost of the project. 11. In 1990, the Family Credit Scheme was introduced to provide a package of activities to more than one member of a family. The size of investment under Family Credit Scheme was up to 25,000 rupees. 12. In 1995, another component, called the Ganga Kalyan Yojana (GKY), was introduced under IRDP to encourage minor irrigation through deep tube wells. 3.4.3 Funding and financing. The schemes and activities under the program are financed through a package of subsidy and institutional credit. Since 1986, quarterly budgeting has been introduced by the central government for releasing the funds. According to this system, 15% of allocations shall be utilized in the first quarter of the financial year, i.e. April to June, and 20% of the allocation in the second quarter, cumulatively 35% by the end of September. In case of shortfalls, the allocation is deducted from the second installment. Funds for the program are released to DRDS, stipulating that the expenditure would be shared equally by the center and the state. Allocations for the union territories are met entirely by the center. The Department of Rural Development, Government of India, releases funds into installments except for cold, snowbound districts, for which funds are given in one installment. For economic activities, different rates of subsidies are provided to the target groups. The pattern of subsidy is shown in Table 3.2. Table 3.2, Subsidy Pattern under IRDP. Look at the screen. The pattern of subsidy outlined in Table 3.2 applies also to the groups of women under the Programs of Development of Women and Children in Rural Areas, DWCRA, and TRYSEM. The subsidy is linked to credit and given in kind to the beneficiaries, except the working capital component, which may be given in cash for projects which are economically viable. For capital investments up to 1,000 rupees each, credit linkage is not obligatory. As far as the credit component is concerned, it is usually sought to be ensured that the subsidy credit ration is 1:2. The main part of the credit component comes from institutional finance. Loans are provided at a 10% concessionary rate of interest. Loan applications are sponsored by the DRDA. On the basis of this, bank managers process applications and sanction loans. One day in the week is kept aside as the day for disbursement of IRDP credit. General infrastructure support to the activities under the program is expected to come from the regular sectoral departments concerned in the states. Initially, 10% of IRDP allocation was allowed for filling up critical gaps in the infrastructure. Now, it has been increased to 20% in general and 25% for hilly, tribal and the northeastern regions. On 1st April 1988, a group life insurance scheme for 3 years from the commencement of asset distribution for IRDP beneficiaries between the ages of 18 and 60 years was introduced. The cost of insurance cover was provided entirely by the government. As we noted, under IRDP, the beneficiaries are provided a package of subsidy and credit. The subsidy element is provided by the government, shared equally by the central and the state government concerned. The loan credit is provided by the banking system, including commercial banks, cooperative banks, and regional rural banks. While the volume of credit mobilized has been increasing, there has been a decline in the share of cooperative financial institutions. In 1988 to 89, a total credit of 1,232 crores rupees was disbursed, of which 1,056 crores rupees came from commercial banks, including regional rural banks, and 176 crores rupees, 16.7%, from cooperatives. Disbursement of loans and subsidy in cash was introduced as a pilot measure in 22 selected blocks on 1st April 1986 and was extended to 50 blocks on 1st January 1989. The service area approach adopted by the banking system, under which a rural and semi-urban branch of a commercial or regional rural bank is assigned a few villages to serve, was introduced on 1st April 1989 to provide better facilities. 3.5 Performance of IRDP. Having looked at the conceptual, administrative and financial aspects of IRDP, we will now review its performance in this section. Table 3.3 given below provides the financial and the physical achievements from the 6th plan to the 8th plan and the first 2 years of the 9th plan. From the above table, some important points emerge. For example, the subsidy credit ratio declined from the 6th plan to the 7th plan and annual plans of 1990 to 91 and 1991 to 92. There are two reasons for this situation. The ratio of SC and cent beneficiaries increased and they are eligible for 50% subsidy, and 2. During the 7th plan and the annual plans 1990 to 92, there was a provision for refinancing second dose of assistance to old beneficiaries. In this case, under the provision that no loan was required for a working capital up to 1,000 rupees, most of the old beneficiaries were given only the subsidy part. These two factors have reduced the subsidy credit ratio considerably. The ratio has, however, increased considerably during the 8th and the 9th plans. The performance of IRDP was monitored through a series of concurrent evaluations. The first round was conducted in 1985 to 86, the second in 1987 to 88, the third in 1989 to 90, and the fourth and last in 1995 to 96. In each round, among other things, qualitative aspects and leakage of funds were also assessed. Based on the outcome of the evaluation reports, many amendments were introduced in the program design and also in the process of implementation. Some of the findings of the latest round of concurrent evaluation, 1995 to 96, are as follows. The percentage of the beneficiaries belonging to agriculture and non-agriculture labor was about 42%. 2. The adequacy of funds for the schemes was adequate for 69.94% of the activities, and the remaining felt that it was inadequate. 3. The average income generated from IRDP scheme by the beneficiaries was 2,498 rupees, which was about 21% of their total annual family income. 4. As for leakages in the program or loss of funds by way of making payments to government officials for seeking favors, 21.97% said yes, and the remaining nil. In April 1999, the IRDP was redesigned in a new format by merging the other 5 programs, TRYSEM, DWCRA, Sitar, MWS, Sitara, and renamed the Swarnajanti Gram Swarojgar Yojana, SGSY. The related new guidelines too have already been issued. 3.6 Summary. In this unit we discussed IRDP, the National Program for Combating Rural Poverty. We noted that 3 factors led to such a shift in perception: the realization that benefits of the Green Revolution had not reached all the sections, the emergence of the concept of distributive justice in development economics, and the unrest and disquiet among the rural poor that took place around that time. Next, we focused on to poverty alleviation programs undertaken in the 4th and the 5th plans. We read about 2 agencies that catered to the needs of particular categories of the poor, viz. Small Farmers Development Agencies and Marginal Farmers and Agricultural Laborers Development Agencies. Following this, we studied IRDP in detail. We discussed the background in which the program was set up. We also read about the concept of integrated rural development, its organizational, administrative, and financial aspects. And finally, we assessed its achievements and weaknesses. Thank you. Subscribe to our channel for more updates, and we will see you with the next chapter.